Welcome our last guest of the Put That Coffee Down segment today. We now have Erin Breen, who is Executive Vice President of Platform Services at Redwood. So Erin, thank you for joining us today as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
And so just as I asked everybody else, give us a little bit of a rundown about where Redwood is currently sitting in the sustainability piece and what you do specifically to help them when it comes to getting sustainability into action.
Yeah, I think we were really early adopters on the CO2 emissions and emissions reduction. We've been doing CO2 emissions consulting for well over 10 years now, leveraging technologies like Mercury Gate and Oracle to help customers optimize their networks and reduce their carbon footprint. So, our CIO said it, I think, best the other day. Lean is green, and as we look to optimize shippers' networks, we've been able to significantly reduce carbon footprint through optimization and consolidation in our managed transportation business for well over 10 years now.
That early adoption has been really key to the success of Redwood, I think. You guys kind of went out on, not to make a tree pun, went out on a limb here when you started this journey into sustainability, looking at it from kind of this technology perspective. Can you talk a little bit about the growth that Redwood has seen when it comes to sustainability initiatives and goals through that 10-year journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece is our customers have driven our innovation, and I think that's across all of our products and specifically across our sustainability solutions. So I think it's really important to understand that our customers have been on the front end of this alongside of us and have really pushed us into this. And I think it's led to not only what we've done from an optimization and consolidation perspective, but launching of net new green initiatives, like the ability to actually in real time measure a company or a shipper's carbon footprint, and then provide them the ability to purchase carbon offsets alongside of that. That's something new that we are obviously launching as part of this FreightWaves event, but something that we're extremely excited about, allowing shippers obviously to measure that carbon footprint in real time and then provide the ability to allow shippers to purchase those carbon offsets.
When you're a company that's looking to do business with a shipper and who's maybe trying to get into doing new business with them, if you're a company that votes with your values, obviously looking at their sustainability initiatives is something that's really important to you, and it could be a make or break on if you choose to do business with them. How do you think that seeing this data from shippers really plays into those companies' decisions to say, you know what, maybe I do want to do business with you, or maybe I don't want to do this?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think anytime that we're looking at a net new customer, I think our values have to align. We have to make sure it's a win-win both for the customer and for Redwood. And I think part of that value alignment obviously is around our green initiatives that, again, we've had in play for well over 10 years now. So I think it's extremely important from the customers to understand our take on carbon footprint and CO2 reduction. And generally, even if a customer hasn't thought that that was something maybe 10 years ago that they were interested in, we've seen more and more adoption over the last 10 years. And specifically, it's been a huge selling point for our organization, I'll tell you, over the last 12 to 18 months as it's moved to the forefront more of the organizations that we're doing business with.
And we can talk a little bit about leveraging data when it comes to getting into actually measuring your sustainability goals, measuring where you're at, specifically from a shipper perspective. Can you talk about how shippers can now use their data to kind of get more predictable and reliable results?
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing that we've seen, even over the last 24 to 36 months is the ease and availability of shipper data, and it's getting better and better. I mean, we've seen obviously that move from 10 years ago, a very manual Excel-based processes with, TMS technologies being on the forefront to really kind of enhance data and analytics, more on the forefront for what our shippers are doing today. So I think really that ease and access to data, not only as shippers' data, but leveraging other third-party data sources, like Sonar, like the DAT, like a variety of the other APIs that are out there through a variety of different brokerages and third parties, really provide shippers a lot more access to data and access to data in real time that helps them drive, decision-making processes that can help them reduce that carbon footprint. So I think for us, it's really been a seismic shift in terms of the ease and access to data, not only for the team at Redwood, but also for our kind of broader shipper community that leverages a wide range of our services.
The explosion in technology for every piece of the freight industry, the freight tech space, has just been absolutely rapid during the last 36 months. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic was a really big driver of that, but also kind of this general slowdown I think that humanity went through, where we kind of sat down and took a look at, okay, what do we truly value about our lives? What do we really value about the work that we do and the work that we do with each other? Can you talk a little bit about how these last 36 months or these last 2 years have kind of thrust you guys forward? Was there any type of rapid movement forward from Redwood as you guys had to adapt during both the pandemic and now the outside expectations following the pandemic?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there specifically. I think, one, we actually saw a pretty significant efficiency pickup for, our business across the board going into the pandemic early. I think, obviously we've got a lot of large offices in major metro areas where people had long commutes. And I think by taking some of those longer commutes from some of our people and, putting them back in front of the customer or spending that time with the customer, I think we saw an initial efficiency pickup gain, especially in the first part of COVID. I think just overall work environment, I think people are enjoying the flexibility of working from home and being in the office as well. So we've seen some productivity gains there. But I think that there is definitely a want and a willingness for a large number of our employees to be back in the office, maybe not in a full-time environment, but definitely in a part-time environment. Just that ability to really kind of collaborate as a broader organization. I think we've definitely missed that over the last 2 years. And as we've slowly started to bring people back in the office, over the last couple of weeks, and we've actually had some events in our offices in Austin and Chicago, I think that camaraderie that you get by being able to socialize with people that you work very closely with and have that human contact is very important and will continue to be extremely important as we kind of move forward slowly, hopefully post-pandemic.
That also is a really key factor when it talks about company culture, right? And kind of having that collaboration and that camaraderie, as you mentioned, throughout your company, then translates into the business that you do. And it makes kind of everybody more successful all around. And of course, this is Put That Coffee Down, which means that it is a sales show. So we've got to take it back a little bit towards sales. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys can leverage technology, leverage data technology specifically, to get people to buy into this idea of sustainability? I feel like selling sustainability isn't something that is super sexy to do, right? It's not easy. It's not the thing that everybody wants to talk about, but it is still a sales pitch. You have to get people to buy into this idea of doing better for themselves and for others. Can you talk about how tech, specifically at Redwood, helps support that idea?
Yeah, so I think the biggest piece here is I don't think it's mutually exclusive, right? Generally, shippers out there in the marketplace today are looking to reduce costs and generally by a lot of the activities that even I talked about earlier on the optimization and consolidation, whether it's moving, hey, multiple LTL shipments into a single truckload or converting multiple parcel shipments into an LTL shipment. Those types of activities at the end of the day drive savings to the shipper's bottom line. And they don't always necessarily know that those activities, while they're helping them save money, also help reduce their carbon footprint. So I don't actually think that a lot of those activities are mutually exclusive. I think it's really interesting when you can explain to a shipper that, hey, listen, by being able to save, $2-3 million a year converting, multiple LTL shipments to a multi-stop truckload can potentially significantly also reduce your carbon footprint. It's just a win-win for the shipper. So I think, again, those types of talking points for the shippers that are out there in the marketplace are extremely important for them to understand that those types of activities, saving money and reducing carbon footprint, are not necessarily mutually exclusive activities.
Which is a good point to bring up, because sometimes I think people get stuck in the mindset of, I've got to invest in this technology, I've got to retrofit all my trucks, I've got to spend all this money in order to get greener, but that's not always the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times it's just taking a little bit deeper dive into their network, leveraging technology that is potentially already available to them to really evaluate those networks. And again, we talked about the availability of data. It's really about being able to optimize those customers' networks and shippers' networks in real time, We have a variety of different technology solutions, obviously, that we deploy on our customers' behalf that do those types of things. So, again, it's not a mutually exclusive activity. With the convergence of multiple data sources in real time and multiple technologies that you can integrate and implement, it just makes that access to data and that decision making process of, again, saving money and reducing carbon footprint very streamlined and very easy.
Last question for you, Erin, before we let you go. Today's Redwood demo, as part of our program, focused on building unique digital supply chain footprint using LPaaS specifically as technology. When it comes to building that unique supply chain footprint, or just a differentiated supply chain, differentiating yourself as a company, do you think that building a supply chain focused on sustainability first and then moving outwards is enough of a differentiator in today's space, or do companies need to focus on building a supply chain just with sustainability integrated instead of at the focal point?
Yeah, I think this is kind of an either or. And again, talking about, hey, shippers have driven a significant portion of our innovation within Redwood, specifically over the last 5 to 10 years. I just don't think it's mutually exclusive anymore. I don't think it's an either or. I think, hey, leading with environmental sustainability at the forefront of everything we do is obviously critical for us, but maybe necessarily not on the forefront or on the front of mind for a lot of our customers, and that's okay. But to my earlier point, that driving those cost savings while also being able to capture significant CO2 reductions within a shipper's network are not mutually exclusive. So I think, it can be that front end of, hey, that is my value proposition to the customer if that is what they're looking for from a value proposition standpoint, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I don't necessarily have to lead with that, because at the end of the day, Redwood, we're all about, creating and building unique solutions with LPaaS that are going to fit into a customer's very, very specific network. So at the end of the day, we're not trying to cram a solution for a customer that is not going to fit, what their need is. And again, that's why we really provide a broad swath of solutions with LPaaS and, with Redwood Connect.
Absolutely. And it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Well, Erin, thank you for joining us today and being part of our summit. Great to have you as always, and we will talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time.
Absolutely.